Dongwu stood in the center of the massive chamber, his black suit looking simple among all the colorful robes and strange outfits worn by the alien delegates. The Galactic Council meeting hall was bigger than any building on Earth. Thousands of seats rose up in circles around the speaking floor, filled with creatures that looked like nothing from human imagination. Some had tentacles instead of arms. Others floated in glass tanks filled with purple gas. A few looked almost human but had scales or extra eyes or skin that changed colors. All of them were staring down at the lone human representative with what Dongwu could only describe as smug satisfaction. Captain Hyunwoo stood 3 steps behind the ambassador, his hand resting on his sidearm. The weapon would be useless here, surrounded by thousands of hostile aliens, but the gesture made him feel better. His earpiece crackled with static from the jamming fields, cutting him off from his ship in orbit. Species designation, human, announced the council speaker, a tall being that looked like a walking tree made of silver metal. Its voice echoed through translation devices. You have been called before this assembly to receive judgment. Dongwu kept his face calm. He had practiced this moment for months. We are here to listen to your concerns. A wave of what sounded like laughter rippled through the chamber. The speaker raised one branch-like arm for silence. Concerns? Yes, we have many concerns about your species. The holographic display above the chamber flickered to life, showing images of human colonies, ships, and settlements. The pictures made humanity look busy and spread out across dozens of star systems. In 30 Earth years since first contact, the speaker continued, your species has established colonies on 217 worlds. You have built mining operations, research stations, and military outposts at a rate that violates all established protocols for junior species. Another alien stepped forward, this one looking like a giant insect wearing a golden crown. Its compound eyes reflected the chamber's lights as it spoke. The Velkan supremacy has monitored human expansion with growing alarm. Your species shows dangerous signs of aggression and territorial ambition. We have followed all colonization treaties, Dongwu replied calmly. Every world we have settled was unclaimed and uninhabited. The issue is not legality, said a third voice. This came from something that looked like a floating brain in a mechanical shell. The issue is wisdom. Young species must be guided. They must learn restraint. Your rapid expansion threatens the stability that has kept this galaxy peaceful for 10,000 years. Hyunwoo felt his jaw tighten. Peaceful. The captain had read the historical records. The so-called peace of the Galactic Council was built on keeping younger species weak and dependent. Older races controlled all the best worlds, all the major trade routes, all the advanced technology. Newer species were allowed just enough freedom to be useful but never enough to be threatening. The speaker gestured, and new images appeared above them. These showed human warships, their angular designs looking primitive next to the smooth curves of council vessels. Your military buildup is particularly concerning. No species has ever developed such a large fleet so quickly after joining the galactic community. We learn from history, Dongwu said. Species that cannot defend themselves do not remain free for long. The chamber erupted in angry chittering, roaring, and electronic screeching. The speaker raised both arms for quiet. This attitude proves our point. Humans think in terms of conflict and dominance. This mindset is incompatible with galactic civilization. A new figure rose from the delegate seats. This alien looked almost human, except for blue skin and 4 arms. When it spoke, its voice carried the weight of ancient authority. I am High Counselor Zefran of the Meridian Collective. Our species has maintained galactic peace for 8,000 years. We know when a species poses an existential threat to stability. The blue alien touched a control panel and the display changed again. Now it showed a detailed breakdown of human colonies, complete with population numbers, industrial capacity, and military strength. The data was incredibly detailed, far more than should have been possible without extensive spying. Observe these numbers, Zefran continued. In 3 decades, humans have achieved what most species accomplish in 3 centuries. Your growth rate is not natural. It suggests either hidden technology, or dangerous recklessness with resources and lives. Dongwu studied the display. The information was accurate, which meant Council agents had been watching human space very carefully. We are an ambitious species. We see opportunity where others see obstacles. You see conquest where others see cooperation, snapped the insect-like Velkan delegate. Your expansion patterns follow classic predator species behavior. You establish footholds, build military strength, then prepare for territorial wars. We have never attacked another species. Hyunwoo spoke for the first time, drawing angry looks from the assembled aliens. Captain, Dongwu said quietly, let me handle this. But the damage was done. The speaker's metal branches clicked together in what might have been anger. The human military officer speaks out of turn. This proves your species lacks proper respect for authority and protocol. Zephyrin stood again, his forearms spreading wide in a gesture that commanded attention. The Meridian Collective has consulted with all major council species. We have reached a unanimous decision regarding the human problem. The chamber fell silent. Even the background hum of life support systems seemed to quiet. Dongwu felt his heart rate increase, but kept his expression neutral. The human species will comply with the following terms, Zephyrin announced. First, you will immediately cease all colonial expansion. Second, you will surrender administrative control of 60% of your current worlds to council oversight. Third, you will reduce your military fleet by 75% and submit remaining vessels for technological inspection. The numbers hit Dongwu like physical blows. 60% of human colonies represented billions of people and decades of work. A 75% fleet reduction would leave humanity defenseless. Fourth, Zephyrin continued, you will accept permanent council observers on all remaining human worlds to ensure compliance with galactic stability protocols. These terms are non-negotiable. You have 72 hours to begin implementation. The chamber buzzed with approval from the alien delegates. Many of them had probably faced similar ultimatums when their own species were young and weak. This was how the council maintained control, by breaking potential rivals before they became real threats. Dongwu looked up at the thousands of alien faces staring down at him. Some showed curiosity about how humanity would react. Others displayed open satisfaction at seeing the upstart humans finally put in their place. A few looked almost sympathetic, remembering when their own species had faced this same choice. And if we refuse? Dongwu asked. The speaker's branches rustled like metal leaves in wind. Then you will be declared a rogue species. All trade agreements will be void. All territorial rights will be revoked. Any human vessel found in council space will be destroyed without warning. Your species will face the same fate as the Korthak Rebellion. Hyunwoo had read about the Korthak, an aggressive species that had refused council authority 2,000 years ago. The council had united against them and wiped out every last Korthak world. Their name was still used to frighten young species into compliance. I see, Dongwu said quietly. He seemed to consider the options, his face showing deep thought. The aliens waited, expecting him to ask for time to consult with Earth, or perhaps to begin immediate negotiations for better terms. Instead, Dongwu smiled. It was not a diplomatic smile or a nervous expression. It was the cold smile of someone who knew something important that others did not. The alien delegates shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Honored council members, Dongwu said, his voice carrying clearly through the vast chamber. I appreciate your concern for galactic stability. Truly I do. Your civilization has maintained peace for thousands of years, and that is admirable. He paused, letting his words sink in. However, I must inform you that humanity respectfully declines your generous offer. The reaction was immediate. Angry sounds erupted from across the chamber. The speaker slammed its branches against the podium, creating a sound like breaking metal. You dare refuse the will of the council? Zephyrin demanded, his blue skin darkening with rage. We do, Dongwu replied simply. Furthermore, I would like to present a counter-proposal. The Galactic Council has 72 hours to withdraw all claims of authority over human space. and formally recognize humanity's right to unrestricted expansion and self-governance. The laughter that followed was loud enough to hurt human ears. Delegates pointed at Dongwu and spoke in their native languages, clearly mocking the audacity of his demand. "And if we refuse your ridiculous counter-proposal?" the Velkan delegate asked through its laughter. Dongwu's smile grew wider. "Then we will demonstrate why our rapid expansion was never about recklessness or aggression. It was about preparation. You see, honored council members, humanity has spent 30 years studying you, learning your weaknesses, mapping your territories, understanding how your peace really works." The laughter began to fade as the implications of his words settled in. "You have." Dr. Minho stood in the command center deep beneath Seoul, watching dozens of screens that showed human colonies across the galaxy. Each screen displayed different worlds, different people, but all of them were connected by invisible threads of communication and planning that had taken 30 years to build. The Galactic Council thought they understood humanity. They saw the rapid expansion, the military buildup, the aggressive colonization, and they assumed humans were just another young species drunk on their first taste of galactic power. They were wrong. "Status report from New Busan," called out Lieutenant He-jin from her communication station. "Colonial Marines report all mining equipment has been successfully converted. They are ready for Operation Sledgehammer." Minho nodded and made a note on his tablet. New Busan was a mining world on the edge of human space, one of 60 colonies the Council wanted humanity to surrender. The aliens saw it as a simple resource extraction site worked by human laborers. They had no idea that every piece of mining equipment on the planet had been designed with dual purposes from the very beginning. The massive ore haulers that moved materials from the asteroid belt were not just cargo ships. With minor modifications, they became kinetic bombardment platforms capable of accelerating chunks of metal to incredible speeds. The deep core miners that extracted rare elements from the planet's center could be repositioned and used to crack open the hulls of even the largest Council warships. "Report from Wolf 359 Research Station," announced Ensign Tae-young from another console. "Dr. Yoonji confirms that Project Ghostwalk is ready for deployment." Minho allowed himself a small smile. The Council delegates had laughed when they heard humanity's ultimatum, but they would not be laughing much longer. Ghostwalk was humanity's most classified military project, developed in secret over the past 5 years. While Council species had spent centuries perfecting their energy shields and defensive systems, humans had taken a completely different approach. Instead of trying to build better weapons to penetrate shields, human scientists had found a way to bypass them entirely. Quantum displacement technology allowed objects to be moved instantly from one location to another, without traveling through the space between them. A missile could be fired from outside a star system and materialize directly inside an enemy ship's reactor core. The technology was still limited and expensive, but humanity did not need many shots. They just needed enough to prove that the Council's supposedly impregnable defenses were useless against human innovation. "Sir," called Specialist Jinwoo from the intelligence station, "we have confirmation from Captain Ji-hoon. His trading fleet has reached the Arcturus system and is in position." Minho brought up Ji-hoon's file on his personal screen. To the Council, the man was just another human merchant captain running supplies between colonies. His ships were old, his crew seemed careless, and his trading routes looked random and inefficient. Council customs agents had inspected his vessels dozens of times over the years and found nothing but legitimate cargo. They never suspected that Ji-hoon was actually Colonel Ji-hoon of Human Intelligence Division, and that his seemingly random trading routes had been carefully planned to map every major Council military installation within 50 light-years of human space. His careless crew members were Special Forces soldiers with decades of training. His old ships were packed with sensor equipment that had been recording Council communications, weapon signatures, and tactical procedures for years. "How many sleeper cells are now active?" Minho asked. Hye-jin checked her screens. "All 237 teams report ready status. We have assets positioned at every major Council facility, trade hub, and communication relay within 100 light-years of the border." The sleeper cells were Minho's proudest achievement. For 15 years, humans had been immigrating to Council worlds as workers, students, and researchers. The Council had welcomed them, seeing human labor as cheap and human curiosity as harmless. They never noticed that many of these immigrants had very specific military backgrounds and were carefully positioned near critical infrastructure. A human mechanic working on the orbital docks above the Council's main shipyard was actually Sergeant Yu Jin, a demolitions expert who could reduce the entire facility to scrap metal in under 10 minutes. A human graduate student studying alien biology at the Meridian Collective's premier university was really Lieutenant Seung Ho, a computer specialist who had spent 3 years mapping the university's connection to the Collective's military network. "What about the deep cover assets?" Minho asked. All responding, Jinwoo confirmed. "We have humans in positions throughout Council space. Some have been in place for over a decade. These were the most valuable agents. Humans who had completely assumed alien identities or who had gained positions of trust within Council organizations. They included Dr. Kyung Min, who worked as a researcher at the Council's main weapons development facility and had been copying their most advanced designs for years. There was also Commander Yeon Soo, who served aboard a Council patrol vessel and had detailed knowledge of their fleet movements and communication codes. The Council thought they were watching humanity, but humans had been watching them much more carefully. "Sir," reported Communications Officer Bo Young, "we are receiving encoded transmissions from all colonial governors. They confirm that local defense preparations are complete." Minho nodded. This was perhaps the Council's biggest miscalculation. They saw human colonial expansion as chaotic and poorly organized, because each world seemed to develop its own culture, government, and military traditions. What they failed to understand was that this diversity was planned. Every human colony had been established with a specific strategic purpose. The farming worlds like New Hokkaido were not just producing food, they were developing biological weapons and studying how to survive extended sieges. The research colonies like Kepler Station were not just advancing human science, they were reverse engineering Council technology and developing countermeasures for alien weapons. The mining worlds were building the industrial base for a massive military expansion. The trade colonies were gathering intelligence on alien economics and supply chains. Even the seemingly peaceful artist colonies were developing new forms of psychological warfare and propaganda. "Status on Project Prometheus?" Minho asked. "Admiral So Young reports that all fleet assets are now in position," Bo Young replied. "The Council's sensors show our ships in expected locations, but the real fleet is ready for deployment." Minho pulled up the tactical display showing known Council military positions. Red dots marked their major fleets, defensive installations, and strategic assets. Blue dots showed the official positions of human ships, scattered across human space in defensive formations. What the display did not show were the green dots, the real positions of humanity's most advanced warships. These vessels had been built in secret shipyards hidden in asteroid fields and nebulae. They used stealth technology derived from studying Council sensor equipment, making them nearly invisible to alien detection systems. The Council thought humanity's fleet consisted of a few thousand ships, mostly converted civilian vessels with basic weapons. They had no idea that humanity had been building a true war fleet in the shadows, equipped with weapons and technology that would shock even the oldest species. "Time remaining?" Minho asked. 67 hours and 42 minutes, replied Hyejin. Minho walked to the center of the command center, looking up at the main display that showed a real-time map of the galaxy. Human space looked small compared to the vast territories controlled by Council species. The aliens owned the galactic core, controlled the major trade routes, and commanded fleets that numbered in the millions. But size was not everything. Humanity had learned that lesson from their own history. Small determined forces had often defeated much larger armies through superior tactics, better technology, and the willingness to do whatever was necessary to win. "Begin Phase 2, Minho ordered. "Send the activation codes to all deep cover assets. It is time for our people to come home." Across the galaxy, humans who had spent years pretending to be loyal Council citizens received coded messages. Dr. Kyung-min finished copying the last files from the weapons research facility and began planting explosives in the reactor core. Commander Yun-soo uploaded a virus into the patrol vessel's computer system that would spread to every ship in the fleet within hours. On the mining world of New Busan, Taijun gathered his people in the main assembly hall. To any observer, it looked like a routine safety meeting for the mining crews. The workers wore simple coveralls and looked tired from their shifts in the asteroid belt. "Friends," Taijun began, "we have received word from home. Our vacation is ending." The workers straightened up. These were not simple miners. They were colonial marines, elite soldiers who had been disguised as laborers for 3 years. Their mining equipment was about to become a weapon that could crack open moon-sized asteroids and send the pieces flying at enemy ships with the force of nuclear bombs. "What are our orders?" asked Master Sergeant Hae Rim, a woman who had been pretending to operate or processing equipment while actually maintaining military-grade targeting computers. "The Council thinks they own this system." The deadline expired at exactly 14:32 Galactic Standard Time. High Counselor Zephyrin sat in his command center aboard the Council flagship Eternal Harmony, expecting to receive humanity's surrender message at any moment. His 4 arms worked at different control panels coordinating the massive fleet that surrounded the Council's main military base at Rigel Station. "Any word from the human ambassador?" he asked his communications officer. "No, sir. All human diplomatic channels have gone silent." Zephyrin was not surprised. The humans were probably arguing among themselves, their primitive democratic government, struggling to accept the reality of their situation. In a few hours, they would send a message begging for better terms. "Sir," the tactical officer's voice was sharp with alarm. "All human vessels in Council space have just disappeared from our sensors." "Disappeared?" Zephyrin turned to face the main display. Red dots that had marked human ships throughout Council territory were simply gone. "Equipment malfunction?" "Negative, sir. Multiple sensor arrays confirm the readings. Every registered human vessel has either powered down completely or left their last known positions." A cold feeling began to grow in Zephyrin's chest. This was not the behavior of a species preparing to surrender. Send scout ships to investigate the nearest human vessel positions. Find out where they went. Before the tactical officer could respond, alarms began blaring throughout the command center. The main display lit up with warning symbols as automated systems detected incoming threats. "Multiple contacts approaching Rigel Station," shouted the sensor operator. "Unknown vessel types closing fast." Zephyrin stared at the display in disbelief. The approaching ships were not showing up as human vessels, but their trajectories came from human space. "Identification?" "Unable to identify, sir. The ships are not matching any known designs in our database." "That is impossible. We have records of every vessel type used by all known species." The answer came not from his officers, but from the communications station. "Sir, we are receiving a transmission from the lead vessel. It is Captain Ji-hoon of the human merchant fleet." Zephyrin's skin darkened with anger. "The traitor? What is he doing here? His cargo route does not include this system." The transmission came through on the main speakers. Ji-hoon's voice was calm and professional, nothing like the nervous, eager tone he had used during previous encounters with Council officials. "Rigel Station, this is Captain Ji-hoon of the Terran Expeditionary Force. You are harboring military assets belonging to a hostile government. Surrender your facilities and prepare to be boarded, or we will take them by force." The command center fell silent. Terran Expeditionary Force? The humans had no such organization in any Council records. "Sir," the tactical officer reported, "the approaching vessels are powering weapons. Energy signatures are—" "Sir, these readings cannot be correct." "What are you seeing?" "The lead ship is showing weapon output levels equivalent to a Council dreadnought, but the vessel is only frigate-sized. Either our sensors are malfunctioning or the humans have developed technology we have never seen before." Zephyrin activated the communication channel. "Captain Ji-hoon, you are in violation of galactic law. Return to human space immediately or face the consequences." Ji-hoon's laughter came through the speakers. Counselor, you seem to be confused about which one of us is giving orders. Let me clarify the situation for you. The human ship suddenly accelerated beyond anything in Council. Records, vessels that had been light minutes away covered the distance to Rigel Station in seconds, moving so fast that Council targeting systems could not track them. Impossible, gasped the tactical officer. Nothing can move that fast without tearing itself apart. Unless, Ji-hoon's voice continued over the communication channel, you have been studying Council technology for 30 years and figured out how to improve it. The first human ship opened fire, and Zephyrin understood immediately why the energy readings had been so confusing. The weapons were not larger versions of standard designs. They were completely new technology that focused energy in ways Council science had never imagined. The blast tore through Rigel Station's outer defensive ring like it was made of paper. Shields that could stop planet-killing weapons simply failed to function against the strange human energy beams. Return fire, Zephyrin ordered. Council ships throughout the system began shooting at the human vessels, but their targets were no longer where they appeared to be. The human ships flickered in and out of existence using the same quantum displacement technology as their weapons to avoid incoming fire. Sir, we cannot establish target locks. The human ships are teleporting faster than our computers can calculate, firing solutions. More human vessels appeared throughout the system, emerging from what had seemed like empty space. These were not the crude, converted civilian ships that Council intelligence had reported. These were sleek warships with armor that absorbed energy weapons and hulls covered in sensors that jammed Council targeting systems. Where did they get this technology? Zephyrin demanded. His science officer, a floating jellyfish-like creature, in a water-filled sphere pulsed with confusion. Unknown, sir. These designs do not match any known technological development path. It is as if the humans skipped several centuries of normal advancement. Ji-hoon's voice returned to the communication channel. Counselor, you have 10 minutes to evacuate all personnel from Rigel Station. After that, we will demonstrate our new mining equipment. Mining equipment? Zephyrin repeated. His answer came in the form of massive objects that suddenly appeared on the edge of the system. The sensor operator's voice was barely a whisper. Sir, those are asteroids, hundreds of them. They are accelerating toward the station at 40% of light speed. Zephyrin felt his confidence crumble. The humans had turned their mining operations into a kinetic bombardment system that could destroy entire fleets. Rocks moving at that speed would hit with the force of nuclear weapons, and there were hundreds of them. Emergency evacuation of all personnel, he ordered. All ships retreat to safe distance. Sir, what about the station? Zephyrin looked at the tactical display one more time. Rigel Station was the Council's main military supply depot, a massive structure that had taken centuries to build. It controlled the shipping routes for half the galaxy and stored enough weapons and equipment to supply 1,000 fleets. The station is lost, he admitted. The evacuation took 8 minutes. Council ships fled the system as fast as their engines could carry them, leaving behind the greatest military installation in galactic history. Rigel Station's automated defenses fired uselessly at targets that appeared and disappeared faster than the weapons could track. When the asteroids hit, the destruction was visible from a dozen star systems away. Each impact released energy equivalent to a large nuclear weapon, and there were 300 impacts in the space of 10 seconds. When the light faded, nothing remained of Rigel Station, except a cloud of glowing debris. Message from Earth Command, reported Hai-Jin in the Seoul Command Center. Rigel Station has been neutralized. Captain Ji-hoon's fleet is proceeding to secondary targets. Dr. Min-ho smiled and marked another item off his checklist. Rigel Station had been the first target, chosen specifically because its destruction would send a clear message to the Council. Humanity was not bluffing, and they were not playing by established rules. What about the ground operations? Min-ho asked. Sergeant Yu-jin reports that the Kepler 442b communication hub is secured. The Council garrison surrendered after 15 minutes of combat. Min-ho brought up the report from Kepler 442b on his screen. The planet hosted the Council's primary communication relay for the outer spiral territories. Control of the facility would allow humanity to intercept and jam Council military communications across a significant portion of the galaxy. Sergeant Yu-jin had led a team of 12 soldiers against a garrison of 300 alien troops, the Bauer. Council soldiers had been armed with standard energy weapons and protected by personal shields. They expected a conventional battle with clear lines and predictable tactics. Instead, they faced humans who used the planet's environment against them. Eugen's team had spent months studying the world's unique magnetic fields and atmospheric conditions. They knew that the metal in Council weapons would conduct electricity differently in the charged atmosphere, causing their energy weapons to malfunction. The human soldiers wore rubber-insulated armor and carried projectile weapons that were unaffected by the magnetic interference. They moved through the facility's ventilation systems, struck from unexpected angles, and used smoke and darkness to confuse aliens whose eyes were adapted to different light spectrums. The battle was over before the Council troops understood what they were fighting. "Sir," Jinwoo called out, "we are receiving reports from across Council space. Operation Phoenix is proceeding ahead of schedule." Minho walked to the main display and watched as red indicators appeared throughout the galaxy. Each red light represented a successful human strike against Council infrastructure. Communication relays, supply depots, research facilities, and military installations were being destroyed or captured by forces that seemed to appear from nowhere. "How are the Council forces responding?" "Mass confusion, sir. Their communication network is compromised, so different fleets are receiving." Admiral So Young stood on the bridge of the UES Retribution, watching the holographic display that showed the Council's response to humanity's opening strikes. Red icons representing alien fleets were converging from across the galaxy, moving toward human space with the slow certainty of an avalanche. "Fleet count?" she asked her tactical officer. 15,000 Council warships confirmed, Admiral. Probably more joining them as they move. Intelligence estimates they will reach the human border in 48 hours. So Young nodded. The Council was doing exactly what human strategists had predicted. Faced with an unexpected threat, they were responding with overwhelming force, confident that sheer numbers would crush the upstart humans. They were about to learn why that strategy would not work. "Signal all units," So Young commanded. "Execute vanishing protocol. All human assets are to disappear immediately." Across human space, a remarkable thing happened. Every human colony, every space station, every military base suddenly went dark. Ships that had been patrolling the borders powered down their engines and drifted into asteroid fields and nebulae. Orbital facilities shut down their transmitters and activated stealth systems. To Council sensors, it looked like humanity had simply vanished. "Sir," reported Captain Sung Ho from his position aboard the stealth destroyer Ghost Wind. "Council, advanced scouts have reached the outer human colonies. They are finding empty worlds." So Young smiled. The Council expected to find human defenders waiting for them with traditional battle lines and fixed fortifications. Instead, they would find nothing but abandoned settlements and silent cities. But the humans had not really disappeared. They had simply become invisible. On the former colony of New Kyoto, Colonel In Young watched through her periscope as Council landing ships touched down in the main city. The alien soldiers deployed in perfect formations, their energy weapons, ready for human resistance that never came. What they found instead were empty buildings, deserted streets, and an eerie silence that made even veteran soldiers nervous. The Council troops advanced carefully through the city, checking every structure for hidden defenders. They never thought to check the sewers. In Young had spent months preparing New Kyoto for exactly this scenario. The colonists had been evacuated weeks ago through secret transport ships, but they had left behind thousands of hidden sensors, communication devices, and weapons caches. Every building was wired with explosives. Every street had hidden traps. Every sewer tunnel was a potential fighting position. "Teams in position?" In Young whispered into her communicator. "Alpha team ready," came the reply from Sergeant Dong Min. "Council troops are entering the industrial district." "Bravo team in position," reported Corporal He Young. "Enemy forces approaching the spaceport." "Charlie team standing by," confirmed. Staff Sergeant Wan Ho. "Council command post is established in the government building." In Young checked her watch. The Council forces had been on the ground for 2 hours, long enough to spread out and relax their guard. "All teams, execute." The attack began simultaneously across the city. Explosions erupted from buildings as council troops passed by, not enough to cause massive casualties, but sufficient to create confusion and panic. Smoke filled the streets, blocking alien vision systems and forcing them to rely on instruments that human jammers quickly disrupted. Council soldiers found themselves fighting an enemy they could not see. Shots came from sewers, rooftops, and abandoned vehicles. Human fighters appeared long enough to fire a few rounds, then melted back into the urban landscape before return fire could find them. Council forces are requesting immediate reinforcement, reported Dongmin. They have taken 40% casualties and have not confirmed a single enemy kill. This was the reality of fighting humans on human terms. The Council species had spent thousands of years developing honorable combat traditions with clear rules and predictable outcomes. They fought wars with massive fleets meeting in open space, settling conflicts through displays of superior technology and numbers. Humans fought wars to win. Meanwhile, Captain Sung Ho was demonstrating another aspect of human military doctrine. His ship Ghostwind appeared behind a council supply convoy that was moving reinforcements toward the border. The alien escorts never detected the human vessel until it opened fire. "Target the cargo ships first," Sung Ho ordered. "Leave the escorts for last." His crew worked with the efficiency of long practice. Human weapons tore through the convoy's cargo vessels, destroying supplies that were meant to support the Council's invasion fleet. When the escort ships tried to respond, they found themselves fighting a ship that could vanish and reappear anywhere around them. "Sir, the lead escort is requesting terms of surrender," reported his communications officer. "Accepted. Take the survivors aboard and strip their ships for intelligence, then let them go." "Let them go, sir?" Sung Ho smiled. "They need to report back to their commanders. They need to tell them what happened here." This was another part of the human strategy. Every survivor of a human attack would spread stories of impossible technology and inhuman tactics. Fear would multiply the impact of each strike, making Council forces hesitant and uncertain. The psychological warfare was working. Reports from across the galaxy showed Council fleets slowing their advance, commanders demanding better intelligence about human capabilities before proceeding. Some alien ships were simply refusing to enter human space without massive escort forces. In the Seoul Command Center, Dr. Minho coordinated the global campaign with cold precision. The main display showed human strikes occurring throughout Council territory, each one carefully planned to maximize strategic impact while minimizing human casualties. "Status report from Operation Ghostwalk," he requested. Dr. Yunji's voice came through from Wolf 359. "We have successfully targeted 17 major Council installations. Quantum displacement strikes have eliminated their primary computer cores without harming civilian populations. Enemy communications are down by 60%. Minho nodded. The displacement weapons were proving even more effective than projected. By materializing small explosive charges inside enemy facilities, human forces could disable critical infrastructure without the massive destruction that traditional bombardment would cause. What about the stealth fleet deployments? "Admiral So Young reports all ghost fleets are in position," announced Communications Officer Bo Young. "Council forces are still searching for our main battle groups in human space, but the real fleet is moving into position behind enemy lines." This was the genius of humanity's strategy. While the Council was mobilizing to attack human territory, the actual human military was positioning itself throughout Council space. Stealth ships had been infiltrating alien systems for weeks, hiding in asteroid fields and gas giant atmospheres, waiting for the moment to strike. "Sir," called Intelligence Specialist Jae Hyun, "we are receiving reports from our agents inside Council High Command. They are debating whether to escalate to planet-killing weapons." Minho's expression darkened. The Council's most powerful ships carried weapons that could destroy entire worlds, turning planets into dead rocks floating in space. It was the ultimate threat that kept younger species in line. Expected timeline for their decision? Unknown, sir. Some Council species are arguing against escalation, fearing it will turn other younger species against them. Others want to make an example of humanity before we can spread our infection to other civilizations. Then it is time for the next demonstration, Minho activated his command console and sent a coded signal to Fleet Admiral Wu Jin, who was waiting in the shadows of the Vega system with humanity's most advanced warships. "Admiral," Minho said when the connection established, "the Council is considering planet killers. Please remind them why that would be inadvisable." "Understood, Doctor. Beginning Operation Sunbreaker." Light years away, Wu Jin stood on the bridge of the UES Prometheus, humanity's first true dreadnought. The ship was twice the size of anything in the official human fleet, built in secret shipyards hidden in the Oort clouds of uninhabited systems. "Target confirmation?" Wu Jin asked. "Vega Prime Orbital Defense Platform confirmed, Admiral," reported Captain Minjun. "Council's secondary military headquarters. Current garrison, 50,000 personnel. Defensive rating, planet class." "And civilian populations?" "Platform is military only, sir. Civilian evacuation is complete." Wu Jin studied the tactical display. Vega Prime's defense platform was the size of a small moon, protected by shields that could absorb the energy output of a star. It commanded the approaches to 12 Council homeworlds and controlled the largest fleet base outside the galactic core. "Charge the main gun." The Prometheus began to glow as its primary weapon system drew power from the ship's massive reactor. The weapon was based on technology that humans had developed by studying ancient Council archives, then improving the designs with human engineering innovation. "Sir, the defense platform is hailing us. They want to know our identity and intentions." "Tell them," Wu Jin said calmly, "that we are humanity's answer to their planet killer threat." The weapon fired. The beam that emerged from the Prometheus was not the crude energy blast that Council weapons produced. It was a focused stream of exotic matter that unraveled the basic forces holding atoms together. When it struck Vega Primes, 6 months after the Council's ultimatum, Ambassador Dongwu walked through the halls of what had once been the Galactic Council's seat of power. The massive space station still orbited Proxima Centauri, but now it flew human flags alongside, the banners of dozens of former Council species that had joined the new alliance. The chamber where he had once stood alone against thousands of hostile aliens now looked very different. Half the seats were filled with delegates from species that had switched sides during the war, recognizing that humanity offered something the Council never had: genuine partnership instead of domination. "The session will come to order," announced the new speaker, a human woman named President Sujin, who had been elected to lead the reformed galactic government. "We are here to address the final terms of the Council war settlement." Dongwu took his place at the central podium, but this time he was not speaking as a representative of a junior species begging for consideration. He was addressing the assembly as the primary architect of the new galactic order. "6 months ago," he began, "the former Council leadership delivered an ultimatum that they believed would force humanity into submission. They demanded that we surrender our colonies, reduce our military, and accept their oversight of our civilization." Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Many of the delegates remembered that day, though few had expected it to lead to the complete collapse of the old system. "Today I stand before you to announce the final terms of their surrender." In the section reserved for former Council species, High Counselor Zephyrin sat with his forearms folded in defeat. His blue skin had grown pale during the months of war, and his eyes showed the haunted look of someone who had watched his entire worldview crumble. Beside him sat what remained of the old Council leadership. The Velkan Supremacy's insect-like delegate clicked its mandibles nervously. The floating brain of the Meridian Collective pulsed with dim lights, its mechanical shell showing battle damage from the final assault on their homeworld. "The former Council species will retain control of their core territories," Dongwu announced, "but they will surrender all claims to expansion rights in the outer spiral arms. These regions will be open to colonization by any species under the protection of the new Galactic Alliance." This was a devastating blow to the old powers. For thousands of years they had controlled galactic expansion, deciding which species could settle which worlds. Now, younger civilizations would have the same opportunities that had once been reserved for the ancient races. Furthermore, Dongwu continued, All former Council military assets will be integrated into the new Alliance Defense Force under human command structure. Admiral Hyun Woo, promoted from his position as captain during the war, stood in the military section wearing the uniform of the Alliance fleet. Around him sat officers from dozens of species, all wearing the same uniform, all serving under human leadership. The integration had been surprisingly smooth. Many alien military personnel had discovered that they preferred the human approach to command, which emphasized individual initiative and creative problem-solving over rigid adherence to ancient protocols. The War Crimes Tribunal will now present its findings, President Soo-jin announced. A new figure entered the chamber, wearing the simple robes of a judge. This was former Dr. Min-ho, now serving as Chief Justice of the Galactic War Crimes Court. During the war, he had been humanity's strategic mastermind. In peace, he had become the architect of a justice system designed to prevent future conflicts. The tribunal has reviewed evidence of systematic oppression practiced by the former council against younger species, Min-ho began. Over the past 10,000 years, 17 civilizations were driven to extinction through economic warfare, military pressure, and deliberate resource denial. The accusations sent shockwaves through the chamber. Many delegates had suspected that the council's peace came at a cost, but few had realized the true extent of the crimes committed in the name of galactic stability. The tribunal recommends reparations in the form of technology transfers, territorial concessions, and cultural exchange programs designed to restore what was taken from these lost civilizations. High Counselor Zephron rose slowly from his seat. I request permission to address the assembly. President Soo-jin nodded. The former High Counselor may speak. Zephron walked to the speaking platform, his movements showing the weariness of defeat. When he reached the podium, he looked up at the chamber that had once been filled with his supporters and allies. I have served the Galactic Council for 300 years, he said, his voice carrying clearly through the translation systems. I believed that we were maintaining peace and order. I believed that younger species needed guidance and control to prevent galactic war. He paused, looking directly at Dong-woo. I was wrong. The admission sent ripples of surprise through the chamber. For a council leader to acknowledge error was almost unprecedented. Humanity has shown us that peace built on oppression is not peace at all, Zephron continued. It is merely delayed conflict. By trying to prevent the growth of younger species, we created the very war we sought to avoid. He gestured to the mixed assembly of humans and aliens. But perhaps this outcome is better than what we had before. Perhaps it is time for the old races to step aside and let others lead. Dong-woo stepped forward. Counselor Zephron, humanity does not seek to replace the old system with a new form of domination. We propose true cooperation between equals. Con. Such cooperation exists between species so different? Asked the Velkan delegate. The answer came from an unexpected source. Captain Jae-won, a human officer who had been working with alien crew members since the integration began, stood up in the military section. With respect, delegates, he said, my ship's crew includes 12 different species. We have humans, working alongside Velkans, Meridians, and others. We have learned that diversity of thought and approach makes us stronger, not weaker. Commander Hae-won rose from another section of the chamber. During the war, she had commanded the quantum displacement weapons that had terrified Council forces. Now she worked with alien scientists to develop new defensive technologies. The former Council species possessed knowledge and experience that humanity lacks, she said. In return, we offer new perspectives and approaches to old problems. Together, we can achieve more than any of us could alone. President Soo-jin stood at the speaker's platform. The vote is called. All in favor of ratifying the Galactic Alliance Charter and the terms of peace settlement? Lights appeared throughout the chamber as delegates registered their votes. When the counting was complete, the result was overwhelming. 847 votes in favor, 23 against, 12 abstentions. The motion passes, Soo-jin announced. The Galactic Alliance is officially established. Cheers erupted from the chamber, not just from human delegates but from aliens who saw the Alliance as hope for a better future. For the first time in galactic history, Younger species would have the same rights and opportunities as the ancient races. As the celebration continued, Dongwu stepped outside onto one of the station's observation decks. Through the transparent, aluminum walls he could see the stars of the galaxy spread out in all directions. Dr. Minho joined him along with Admiral Hyunwoo and several other veterans of the war. They stood together in comfortable silence, watching the lights of ships from dozens of species moving peacefully through the space around the station. "Do you think it will last?" Hyunwoo asked. "The Alliance?" Dongwu considered the question. "It will face challenges. There will be disagreements, conflicts of interest, maybe even small wars between member species. But it will be better than what came before." "Because we are in charge now?" Minho asked with a slight smile. "Because no one is in charge now," Dongwu corrected. "The old council ruled through fear and control. The Alliance succeeds through cooperation and mutual benefit." Admiral Hyunwoo pointed toward a section of space where the lights of ships seemed especially dense. "What about the exploration fleets? Some council species are still nervous about human expansion into the outer rim." Dongwu's smile grew wider. "Let them be nervous. Humanity has always been driven to explore, to discover, to push beyond known boundaries. That drive brought us to the stars, and it will take us to other galaxies. The exploration fleets were humanity's newest project, designed to push beyond the edges of known space and discover what lay in the vast darkness between galaxies. Ships equipped with the most advanced human technology were already making contact with civilizations that existed beyond the Council's influence. The Council thought they could contain us within mapped space, Minho observed. They never understood that giving us time to establish ourselves here was just the first step. "First step toward what?" Hyunwoo asked. Dongwu gestured toward the observation deck's main window, which showed the distant glow of the Andromeda Galaxy. "Toward expanding the Alliance beyond this galaxy, toward bringing freedom and cooperation to civilizations that have never known anything but isolation or domination." Through the window, they could see the launching lights of human exploration vessels beginning their journey toward distant galaxies. Each ship carried not just human crew, but volunteers from allied species who shared humanity's vision of unlimited growth and discovery. The Council.